Imagine that every night is not just a rest, but an initiatory journey. That when you close your eyes, you're not turning off the day, but rather lighting the temple where your body repairs itself, your mind is purified, and your spirit reconnects with its origin. But there's a secret that few know. 99% of people never cross that threshold. They sleep, yes, but they don't heal. This isn't a post about tips for sleeping better. It's a revelation. A hidden map that intertwines science, ancient wisdom, and energetic alchemy. Get ready to discover that sleeping well isn't a luxury, it's a forgotten art. And you're about to remember it. Before starting this video, remember to subscribe and like. Every night, without exception, we cross an invisible threshold. A silent passage into a realm where time dissolves and life is reordered. But what few know, and even fewer honor, is that this threshold isn't crossed automatically when we close our eyes. Most remain in the antechamber, trapped in a superficial sleep that doesn't heal, cleanse, or transform. And most disturbingly, they believe this is normal. We've been taught that sleep is simply resting. That all it takes is turning off the light, lying down, and letting the body do its thing. But that vision is incomplete. Sleeping well isn't a passive act. It's a ceremony. A silent alchemy where the body becomes a temple, the mind a priest, and the soul a pilgrim. When this process isn't honored, rest becomes an illusion. The body accumulates wear and tear, the mind fills with noise, and the spirit disconnects from its center. Maybe you've experienced it. That awakening where your body weighs like a stone, your mind is foggy, and your heart beats like you've run a marathon. Maybe you've blamed stress, routine, or age. But what if the problem isn't how much you sleep, but how you sleep? What if you've never truly entered deep sleep, that state where internal alchemy begins its secret work? Modernity has robbed us of the art of sleep. Artificial lights blur the lines between day and night. Screens hypnotize us until the last second. Constant noise interrupts the sacred dance between human beings and darkness. We have forgotten that night is not absence, it is presence. It is the cosmic womb where everything is regenerated. And every time we sleep poorly, we move a little further away from our original design. Ancient cultures knew this. In Egypt, dream temples were sacred places where initiates learned to enter lucid states to receive divine visions. In Greece, followers of Asclepius slept in temples hoping dreams would reveal cures that waking life couldn't offer. In the East, Taoism taught that sleeping in harmony with the rhythms of nature allowed qi, life energy, to flow freely, healing not only the body but also emotions and thoughts. They didn't ask how many hours of sleep one should have. They asked how to surrender to sleep so that it can do its work. Because sleep isn't just rest. It's a portal. A space where the body activates its invisible architects, where cells regenerate, emotions dissolve, and consciousness is freed from the laws of the day. Today that wisdom seems distant. But it's not lost. It's dormant. And you're about to awaken it. This first chapter isn't an explanation. It's an invitation. To observe your night as a ritual. To recognize that 99% of people don't sleep well, not because they don't want to, but because they were never taught that sleep is an art. An art that begins long before you close your eyes. One that requires intention, preparation, and respect. Getting a good night's sleep is an act of spiritual rebellion in a world that glorifies productivity and despises silence. It's saying to the universe, I value this body, I honor my energy, and I protect my mind. It's remembering that rest isn't wasted time, but the secret workshop where your vitality is woven. So tonight when you go to bed, don't do it as usual. Do it as if you were entering a temple. Turn off the lights of the world, but turn on the lights of your inner universe. Because if you do it right, you won't just rest. You'll be reborn. And that rebirth, silent but profound, will be the beginning of a transformation measured not in hours, but in clarity, energy, and connection with who you are at your core. Because sleeping well isn't just about closing your eyes. It's about opening the door to the healing that the day can never bring. Welcome to the true art of sleep. The journey is just beginning. When you finally cross the threshold of deep sleep, you're not simply resting. You're entering the most sophisticated and silent laboratory in existence, your own body. There, without you even noticing, an invisible alchemy is activated. Cells begin to regenerate, the immune system strengthens, hormones balance, and the brain begins a cleansing process that no medication can match. It's as if a legion of invisible architects are working in the darkness to rebuild you from within. But this masterpiece doesn't happen by accident. It requires specific conditions, respect for internal rhythms, and conscious commitment. Sleeping well isn't just about turning off the light, it's about turning on the processes that sustain your vitality. And when you don't do this, when you interrupt this alchemy with noise, light, screens, or emotional tension, it's as if you stop those architects just as they're about to begin their work. Modern science, almost unwittingly, is rediscovering what ancient cultures already knew. During deep sleep, the brain activates the glymphatic system, a network that eliminates toxins accumulated during the day. It's as if a secret floodgate opens, clearing mental waste, allowing the mind to awaken clearer, more creative, and more intuitive. And as this happens, the body releases melatonin, the master hormone of rest, which not only regulates sleep but also stimulates cell regeneration and protects against premature aging. But there's something else. Something that can't be measured with instruments or observed in laboratories. In that deep state, your consciousness dissolves. It doesn't disappear, it transforms. It frees itself from the laws of physics, linear time, and everyday logic. And in that space, it can receive information, heal emotional wounds, and reprogram mental patterns. It's as if sleep were a bridge between what you are and what you can become. Esoteric traditions have always said it. Sleep not only heals, it also rewrites. In those slow waves of the brain, where the mind quiets and the body surrenders, an alchemy occurs that turns the lead of your tensions into the gold of your clarity. But for that to happen, you need to create the conditions. Because the body wants to heal, but it needs you to allow it. Sleeping poorly is like trying to tune an instrument in the midst of chaos. Sleeping well is about placing yourself on the perfect frequency so that your entire body resonates in harmony. And that harmony isn't achieved with pills or accumulated hours. It's achieved with respect, with ritual, with intention. Every night, when you surrender to deep sleep, you are entering the secret workshop of your own evolution. And if you do it right, if you allow that alchemy to occur, you will wake up not only rested but transformed. Because true rest is not just physical. It's energetic. It's spiritual. It's the art of allowing the invisible to work on your behalf. So the next time you go to bed, remember this. You are not simply sleeping. You are entering the laboratory where your body repairs itself, your mind is cleansed, and your soul prepares to be reborn. And that laboratory, silent and sacred, is waiting for you to honor it. Because when you do, rest ceases to be a pause, and becomes living medicine. Before artificial light erased the boundaries between day and night, sleep was a sacred act. It wasn't just a biological necessity, it was a ceremony. Ancient cultures knew this. They didn't lie down simply to rest. They were preparing to enter an invisible temple, a space where the body quieted, the mind opened, and the spirit aligned with forces we are only just beginning to rediscover today. In Egypt, dream temples were places of initiation. There, priests guided initiates into states of lucid dreaming, where visions were not ordinary dreams but divine messages. The bed was not a piece of furniture, it was an altar. Night was not darkness, it was a portal. Sleep was a way of fine-tuning the spirit to receive instruction from higher realms. It wasn't about shutting down the body but about turning on the consciousness. In ancient Greece, followers of Asclepius, the god of medicine, practiced dream incubation. Pilgrims would travel to sacred temples, purify themselves, lie down in silence, and wait for the night to speak to them. In this vulnerable state, they received advice, healing, and revelations. Sleep was seen as a conversation between the human soul and mystery. Not as a pause, but as an opportunity for transformation. In the East, Taoism and Buddhism understood that deep sleep was one of the most effective ways to rebalance vital energy. Sleeping in harmony with the rhythms of nature allowed qi, the force that sustains life, to flow freely. Not only were muscles and organs repaired, but also pent-up emotions, contaminated thoughts, and invisible burdens that the day could not resolve were released. These cultures didn't sleep out of habit. They slept out of devotion. They knew that the night was a silent teacher. That rest was a dance between the body and the cosmos. That posture, direction, environment, intention. Everything influenced the quality of sleep. They didn't ask how many hours were enough. They asked how to prepare the inner temple to receive the visit of the sacred. But with the arrival of modernity, that wisdom began to fade. The dream was reduced to numbers, statistics, and clinical studies. The spiritual dimension was lost, the invisible alchemy that occurs when the body surrenders itself with reverence. Electric lights interrupted the ancestral language of darkness. Screens replaced rituals. Constant noise drowned out the voice of silence. And yet, contemporary science is beginning to confirm what the ancients already knew, that during deep sleep, the body activates cellular repair processes, the brain cleanses toxins, and the mind reorganizes information. That sleeping well isn't just about resting. It's about allowing life to be rewritten from within. Sleeping like our ancestors did isn't a romantic nostalgia. It's an urgent need. We live in an age where disconnection from natural rhythms makes us sick, exhausts us, and fragments us. Every night of poor sleep is a lost opportunity to return to our center. And every night of good sleep is an act of spiritual rebellion against a world that wants us awake but disconnected. So the next time you lie down, remember this. You're not entering a bed, you're entering a temple. You're not turning off your body, you're turning on your inner universe. Honor that moment as the ancients did. Because when you sleep with awareness, with intention, with respect, you don't just rest. You align. You heal. You reconnect with who you have always been. Sleeping well is about remembering. Remembering that rest isn't a pause in your day, it's the source of your true energy. And that every night, if you allow it, can be the beginning of your rebirth. Most people believe that rest begins when the lights go out. But true sleep, the kind that transforms, doesn't begin in darkness. It begins with intention. Before you close your eyes, there is a sacred moment. An energetic threshold that separates the external world from the internal universe. And if you don't cross it consciously, your body may sleep, but your soul remains awake, trapped in the invisible noise that never ceases. Ancient cultures knew this. Before going to sleep, they prepared themselves. They breathed slowly, lit sacred aromas, recited mantras, and gave thanks. It wasn't superstition. It was spiritual science. They understood that the human body is a temple, and that sleep is the ritual that activates it. Today we call it sleep hygiene, but they experienced it as a ceremony. Because they knew that rest isn't just physical, it's vibrational. Every image you see before bed, every conversation, every thought, everything leaves a mark. And if you don't clear that space before bed, sleep becomes a battle between your desire to rest and the noise inside you. That's why the first act of nighttime healing is to disconnect. Turn off the screens, turn on the silence. Replace stimulation with presence. A candle, a tea, a breath. The ritual doesn't matter, the intention does. And then breathing. That invisible bridge between the conscious and the unconscious. Breathing deeply before sleep isn't just about relaxing. It's about opening the doors to the parasympathetic system, the physiological guardian of deep rest. Inhale rhythmically, hold, and exhale calmly. It's like tuning your instrument before the night symphony. Because if the body is agitated, sleep doesn't flourish. And if the mind is tense, the soul doesn't travel. Sleeping well is preparing the ground. Complete darkness, adequate temperature, conscious posture. Sleeping on your side, especially the left, is no coincidence. It aids digestion, relieves pressure on the heart, and allows the organs to converse with each other in the stillness of the night. Every gesture counts. Every detail is a key. Because the body responds to symbols, signals, and frequencies. And when it receives them, it activates its alchemy. But there's something deeper. Something that transforms sleep into a journey. Intention. Before you sleep, formulate a purpose. It doesn't matter if it's to heal an emotion, receive a response, or wake up energized. What matters is that your subconscious needs direction. It's like a ship that sets sail every night. If you don't chart a course, the current will carry it anywhere. But if you give clear instructions, the journey becomes healing. And then what few understand happens. During sleep, your consciousness is not limited by the laws of physics. It can travel, receive, remember. It can access subtle planes, find solutions, release burdens. Dreams are not just images. They are messages. They are fragments of your deepest history. And if you learn to listen to them, they become guides. Shamanic traditions have always said, in sleep, the spirit travels. And if the rest is superficial, those missions are not completed. You wake up heavy as if you hadn't gone anywhere. But if the sleep is deep, if the intention is clear, if the body is aligned, then the journey occurs. And what you bring back is not just rest. It's transformation. Sleeping well isn't just about closing your eyes. It's about opening portals. It's about preparing the temple. It's about planning your journey. And when you do it consciously, each night becomes an opportunity for rebirth. Because sleep isn't the end of the day. It's the beginning of your true healing. And you have the power to turn it into art, into ritual, into living medicine. The moment you open your eyes each morning is more powerful than you imagine. It's not just the beginning of a new day, it's the closing of a ceremony that has occurred silently while you slept. But if that awakening occurs abruptly, automatically, without awareness, it's like breaking a ritual before it's sealed. The night's alchemy fades, the messages of dreams are lost, and the energy you might have brought with you dissolves in the rush. Awakening is an art. It's the final act of an invisible dance between your body, your mind, and your spirit. And like all art, it requires presence. You don't need anything external. Just attention. Just respect for that moment when darkness transforms into light and you are reborn. Because yes, every awakening is a rebirth. You've traveled through subtle planes, you've healed without realizing it, you've reorganized your inner world. And now, as you open your eyes, you have the opportunity to integrate all of that, or lose it. Avoid blaring alarms. Allow yourself a few minutes of silence. Breathe. Stretch. Remember. Be grateful. Not because it's routine, but because it's a way to honor the invisible work that happened during the night. It's like closing the circle. Like sealing the pact between you and the forces that sustained you while you slept. Because rest doesn't end when you wake up. It ends when you recognize it. And here comes the key that sustains everything you've learned. Consistency. It's not enough to have a good night's sleep. It's not enough to apply these rituals from time to time. True transformation occurs when you turn sleep into a sacred practice. When every night becomes an act of devotion. When every awakening becomes a ritual of integration. Consistency is the key that unlocks the treasure. It's what turns knowledge into wisdom. It's what transforms the body, stabilizes emotions, and clarifies the mind. Not because you do something extraordinary, but because you repeat the essentials with intention. Because every night you turn off the external world and turn on your internal universe. Because every morning you remember that you've returned different. Sleeping well isn't a luxury. It's a profound necessity. It's the act that sustains everything else. Your health, your creativity, your emotional balance, your spiritual connection. It all depends on how you sleep. And you have the power to turn every night into a ceremony. You don't need altars or incense. Because the altar is you. And the incense is your breath. Imagine this. Each night is a seed. And you decide how to plant it. If you water it with conscious habits, it will germinate into vitality, clarity, and peace. If you neglect it, it will grow weak, clumsy, and disconnected. The choice is yours. And it is renewed every time the sun sets. So tonight, when the silence embraces you, remember that you are entering the secret workshop where your life energy is woven. And when you awaken, do so like someone returning from a temple. Because if you do it right, you will not have just slept. You will have been reborn. And that rebirth, repeated consistently, can change your life. Night after night, dream after dream, until rest stops being a pause and becomes your greatest source of power. Because sleeping well isn't just about closing your eyes. It's about opening the door to what has always been waiting for you, your true essence, your balance, your light. Now you know, and what you know transforms. Now you know that sleep is not a pause but a ceremony. That each night is a seed and each awakening, a harvest. You have walked the invisible corridors of deep rest, where the body becomes a laboratory, the mind an alchemist, and the soul a navigator. Sleeping well is an act of spiritual rebellion in a world that glorifies noise. It is saying to the universe, I honor my energy, I protect my temple, and I trust in the power of the unseen. Tonight, when you turn off the light, you will not simply be resting. You will be entering the sanctuary where life is rewritten. And when you awaken, you will not be the same. It will be you but repaired. You but clearer. You but reborn. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. See you in the next video.